Hi, this is Holly from the Sweet Simple Things, and welcome to my channel where we make healthy and nourishing recipes the whole family will love. Make sure you hit subscribe to see all the latest recipes. I've been on a bit of a recipe break for a few weeks, but I am back with this 100% whole wheat sourdough sandwich loaf. I am obsessed with this bread. It is so good, and I'm excited to share the recipe with you today. I'm using fresh milled flour. I'm using 100% hard red wheat for this recipe. And my trick is whey. This is whey from yogurt. Actually, I made my own yogurt and I strained it to turn it to Greek yogurt, and I'm using whey instead of water. Then I'm adding 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk, some maple syrup, and olive oil. Then I'm using some sourdough starter. This is cold from the fridge, that's why it's kind of thick right there. I'm just using discard, it works just fine. And then I'm going to mix this up. We'll be adding salt after the rest period. When I use fresh milled flour, I like to kind of mix the dry with the wet and let it really have time to hydrate. Sometimes you can add the salt in right away and it works well, but I think sometimes if your recipe is a little more acidic, like I'm using whey in this recipe, then adding the salt right away sometimes is a little more problematic. So I'm holding off on the salt until after this dough rest period where I let the bran and everything fully hydrate. So I'm just going to let it sit for about a half hour. It's up to you how long you want to do. I think 30 minutes is plenty. And I'm going to put my 2 teaspoons salt right on top so I don't forget to add it. Because actually, first time I made this recipe, I forgot the salt and it was pretty bland. Don't forget the salt. Okay, so let's get it in there, and now I'm gonna start just kneading it. I'm just gonna work the salt in with the dough hook on my mixer. You can mix it in however you want, but this works pretty well. And then you're gonna let it knead. I'm using speed 2 on the mixer. It probably took a total 8 to 10 minutes or so. I went until I got a good window pane, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like here as we go. I'm going to talk a little bit more about why I'm using whey. It really gives the bread a nice hearty chew. Like, the bread is softer, it's heartier, it's really, really good. Like, my husband and I haven't been able to stop eating it, and when you make a gallon of yogurt and if you strain it for 10 hours or so and get as much of the whey out as you can, you have over a quart of whey that you can save for baking. Whey keeps in your fridge in an airtight container as long as there's no yogurt in the whey, as long as it's clear. It keeps for up to 6 weeks. So if you make a batch of yogurt and you have that whey, okay. So anyway, let me pause a second. I'm almost to window pane here, but the dough is still a little more delicate than I would like. So I'm going to keep kneading. So that's what I'm checking for here to see how my gluten development is going. So putting it back on speed 2, and we're going to keep going for a while. Anyway, I'm really loving baking with whey, but if you don't have whey, if you don't make yogurt, 2 options. You can buy plain regular yogurt, not Greek, regular yogurt. Okay, sorry again. Check my window pane there. You can see the dough is much more strong now, so this is good. But you can buy the plain yogurt at the store and strain it yourself to get the whey, or just use water. Totally fine just to use water instead of whey. I'm just having a lot of fun baking with liquid yogurt whey lately. So anyway, after I do that, I am going to kind of flatten it down. I like to move my dough to a clear-sided container for bulk fermentation, just for me to keep an eye on it. And we're just going to let it rise about 50%. And one thing I love about this recipe, but just baking with sourdough in general, is you know, I let it go the rest of the day. This is before bed. We hadn't, like I said, my starter was not active. It was right from the fridge. So we haven't had a lot of movement yet. I want to go to bed. So I'm just going to put this thing in the fridge. I'm going to let it go overnight, and we'll see how it is in the morning. Now, here I am in the morning taking it out, and it has risen about 25% in volume overnight just being in the fridge. I want it to go a little bit more, so I'm just going to take it out, leave it on the counter, and then once it's risen that 50% mark, I'm going to move on to shaping. So here, I saw this trick online. It was brilliant. I mean, you can take your parchment paper, just kind of crinkle it up like that, so that when you put it in your bread pan, it doesn't fold over all over the place. Like, it forms to shape a little bit better that way. So anyway, I'm just kind of prepping my bread pan there. Then I'm going to show you how I shaped it. You just shape this like any regular old loaf. I'm trying a new shaping method I saw a video for that I thought looked kind of cool. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I've tried it a few times now. You can see me try it in this video. Just shape it like a sandwich loaf, however you want to do that. But anyway, the method I'm trying here is you kind of flatten it out into a rectangle, and then flatten it a little bit. Don't get, you don't want to completely degas the dough, so you don't need to push too hard or make it super flat. But I'm making a rectangle about as long as my loaf pan. And then I'm just gonna pry up from one end. You might need to flour your surface. It kind of depends on how sticky your dough is. Sometimes my dough comes out a lot stickier and I need to flour. And sometimes, like right here, my dough really isn't that sticky. So anyway, roll it up like you are rolling anything. And then what we're going to do is kind of flatten down the very ends and roll those too and tuck them underneath. So I'll show you what I mean here. So I'm going to kind of take my hands and roll them to kind of almost like you're rolling Play-Doh a little bit on the ends. And then what you can do after you roll those out, bring them in and tuck them like that. Kind of just smooth it out a bit, roll it over and get it in your loaf pan. I don't know how I feel about it, but I did like that it was tucking my ends in more, keeping the seam down on the very bottom. So I thought I'd give it a try, and it worked fine. My loaf came out well, but I acknowledge that watching me shape that was probably not pretty. Okay, I'm going to cover this again, and now I'm going to let it proof until it's come up to the top of the pan. I want a really nice puffy loaf before it goes in the oven. So you can kind of see here, I let it go up till the top is just at the top of the pan sides or so. We're going to bake it at 375 for about 35 to 40 minutes. I do 40 minutes. And there you can see how beautiful it's risen, how the crust is that beautiful golden brown. We can take it out of the pan and let it cool. And then once it's cooled completely, we can slice it. I'm checking the internal temp for sandwich loaves. I like to make sure I hit at least 190. Yeah, I'm probably close to 200 on that, so that's good. When you're ready to slice, just go ahead. I'll kind of show you the interior of my crumb here. It's a really nice bread. It's not crumbly at all. It is very flavorful, very nutritious with all of the ingredients, the fresh milled flour, the eggs, olive oil, the liquid whey for added nutrients as well. It's really a hearty and beautiful loaf, and seriously, it tastes so good. Like, the whey really adds a nice flavor. It's not a weird flavor. It's not a funky flavor. It's a very nice chew to the bread. So I highly recommend it, but you can use water as well. You can see here, I'm kind of showing you how pliable it is. I kind of break the crust at the bottom there, but otherwise you can see how durable this bread is, but yet it's not hard or dry at all. It is so soft. So give this recipe a try. I hope you love it.